The Kerrville City Council is now in session, and this time, Kim Clarkson will lead us in the prayer and the pledge. Let's stand.
If you'll pray with me. Dear God, we thank you for bringing us together tonight in a place where we have the opportunity to meet, consider, and make decisions for the best of our community. We thank you for bringing us Chief McCall to serve and watch over and protect our families, our constituents, our loved ones. And Lord, we come to you right now in a very special season where we're putting our family, a time when our families gather for Thanksgiving and for the holidays. And we just ask you to be with families as they make tough decisions about who they're going to visit, and just ask that we stay safe and that you protect and guide our hearts and our decisions and our minds. And please watch over all of those in our community who are suffering from COVID right now, and the families that have someone that they've loved who has been sickened or even passed away from this sickness. We welcome our new council member, Brenda Hughes, and look forward to continuing our good progress and our making of good decisions for the city. And we always ask for your guidance, and we thank you for your blessings. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have announcements of community interest?
He's raising the flag right now.
Yeah. All right.
Dual roles.
He'll be here in a minute.
He's pulling double duty. He's doing
He's got double duty.
I wanted to say that we're not going to sing happy birthday, but we have two birthdays on the council, Judy Eichner and Kim Clarkson, in this month. So we wish them a very happy birthday.
Some of us have stopped counting. So.
Including mine. Oh, and yes, and I also asked the mayor if I could give a shout out to two very special birthdays to me. They were kind of mad because COVID has canceled the party plans, but my boys will both be having birthdays tomorrow. They'll be 10 and 12. So I told them, Reed and Weston, I want to wish you guys a happy birthday. I love you, and you make me proud every day.
There you go.
All right. 10 and 12. All right, good. All right. Would like some folks to come forward at this time.
I think Stuart's got some announcements real quick.
Sorry about that earlier. I had to.
Oh, you got one.
Over the flag.
Go ahead.
Sure. Just two very quick announcements, and both of them are reminders. First one is that we have free COVID testing tomorrow from 8 to 4 at the Hill Country Youth Event Center, and I'm going to call it that for the last time because I think the name has now changed. I think it's the Happy State Bank Youth Event Center. We have a new neighbor out there, so I guess we'll need to start referring to it that way. And then, of course, the other reminder is, and this is no reminder to y'all, but to everyone else, that this is the only council meeting this month. So we want to go ahead and wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and stay safe. All right, thank you.
Good, thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, may I just say a couple of things? One, I think we should a shout out to KPUB for the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting that they have received. So not only can they put up new Christmas decorations up and down Sidney Baker and the park and the tree, they know how to keep finances straight. So I think that's great. I love all the Christmas decorations that we're seeing all over town. I don't know whether it's COVID that's causing people to put out more, but it is so neat to see so many decorations in front of people's homes. And the other thing is, I love the new streets we're driving on. Love, love, love our new streets. That's
Good.
great. Yeah.
Okay. Glenn Andrew, Mindy Wenderly, and Kim Clarkson, would you come up here? I want to read to you our Kerrville Kindness Utility Fund Award. In the spring of 2020, a group of citizens united to establish the Kerrville Kindness Utility Fund through the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country. The fund received donations from 52 households and 7 companies or foundations totaling $20,265. This money was used to pay city utility bills for 245 Kerrville citizens experiencing financial hardship due to COVID-19. The fund paid bills based on established need criteria and did not require citizens to apply for the aid. Instead, a payment from the fund just appeared on each utility account as an unexpected, freely given gift. The Kerrville Kindness Utility Fund exemplifies the true spirit of Kerrville kindness, and we wish to recognize this compassionate community initiative. Congratulations, you have helped people, and that is exciting. There you go.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, and I bet Stuart wants to get a picture. All right, okay. Thank you. Okay, we come to our Visitors Citizens Forum. Any citizen with business not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the City Council. Prior to speaking, each speaker must fill out the speaker request form and give it to the City Secretary. The speaker request form must be submitted to the City Secretary before the item is called or read into the record. City Council may not discuss or take any action on an item, but may place the issue on a future agenda. Each speaker is limited to 4 minutes. Do we have any speakers?
Yes, sir. We have one, Vincent Vocal.
Okay.
Vincent Vocal, 619 Wheelus Avenue. First, want to say congratulations to the mayor and the recently elected council members. Speaking of elections, I'd like to know what voting systems and machines we use for city elections. I've recently learned possible vulnerabilities of some of these voting machines and systems, and I believe Kerrville should have confidence in our elections. The main reason I came to speak today is mostly because I'm tired of watching people live in fear of COVID. A lot of this is due to reporting of positive tests. I would like to see certain information so that we, the people, can decide on our own and understand the risks that we take by just simply living during this time. I put together some questions that I've been hearing around the community. If we can address this at the local level as it relates to Kerrville, maybe we can get a better sense of how severe this virus is and what the impact has been to our community. First question is I'm just going to go through these. Who is getting tested? Is it people with or without symptoms? What is the ratio of that? What are the hospital's recommendations for people that have tested positive? Are we following up with people who test positive that have no symptoms to see if they develop any symptoms? If so, is there a percentage of those who develop symptoms? What are the age groups of people who are tested positive? What is the percentage of people that test positive who wear masks versus no mask? What tests are we using in Kerrville? What's the accuracy of these tests? How is that accuracy compared to flu tests? Has anyone tested positive twice or multiple times? And how many false positives? How many KISD students have tested positive for COVID? What age groups have tested positive? Are we requiring our students to wear masks? If so, why? Is it data related? What does Kerrville define as a mask? Can we get KISD data from the past 5 to 10 years for illnesses such as flu and respiratory infections? And how is this compared to those past 5 to 10 years? I would encourage our students to do their own research and stand up for their rights and freedoms. They are more powerful than they know. Can we get data from the past 5 or 10 years to see our yearly flu and pneumonia cases in Kerrville? How is this year compared to those? How has COVID cases compared to the flu cases over the past 5 to 10 years? Can we get data showing our yearly deaths? Can we list the causes? How many deaths are related to flu and pneumonia? Can we compare that information this year to see if COVID has created a spike or maybe even replace some of those causes? How many COVID deaths have pre-existing conditions? What are they, and how many did not? What therapeutics are currently prescribed in Kerrville? How about our nursing homes? Which ones are not allowed? Where can we get these therapeutics that are allowed? What is the city's plans for a vaccine? Do many of you intend to take the vaccine? Will city employees be required to take it? Will KISD students be required to take it? Has there been an increase in crime during COVID related to Kerrville? Has there been an increase in mental health issues? Has there been an increase in drugs and alcohol related offenses and abuse? Has the unemployment number changed? And can we get a layout of the city's COVID relief funds as they were spent? I encourage people to take these questions and do your research for yourself. And for those who pray, continue to pray and stay strong in your faith. An anxious heart weighs a man down, but a kind word cheers him up. If God is for us, who can be against us? Thank you.
Mr. Vogel, hey, Mr. Vogel, would you get me a copy of the questions? I'll send all of them. Okay. All right.
There are no more speakers signed.
All right, okay. Then let's move to the consent agenda, which these items will be considered together unless a council member or a citizen asks for one to be pulled.
Mr. Mayor, I would like for 4D to be pulled if we could, maybe, and get a little more explanation on it.
All right,
4D.
For
Are you pulling
D?
it?
D.
D, yeah, okay.
Also, we have a citizen that wants to pull 4A and 4B.
4A and,
4B as in boy.
okay, all right. Okay. Then do I hear a motion regarding the remainder?
I'll move that we approve items 4B, 4E, 4F, 4G, and 4H on the consent agenda.
What about C?
Did you have C?
Was C, yes, I started with C.
C,
C, E, F, G, H.
E, G, H.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we got a motion second. All in favor of passing these resolutions, recommendations, let me know by the raised hand. Okay. All right. Do we have someone to speak to 4A?
George Baruti.
Do I do this with this on or off?
You can take it off.
Okay. All right, George Baruti, 1616 Glen Road. For whatever reason, I feel a little nervous today. So I'm here to actually ask you to consider something that's a little bit outside the box, but after you hear the points, I'm hoping it won't feel like it's that far outside the box. This is about the election coming up in May. Essentially asking you to consider the possibility of moving the election to November as opposed to May. For the following reasons, I kind of lay out what I see as benefits to doing this. The first one is probably the most important and obvious, is the newly elected council was elected in November. The charter states that they will all have terms of 2 years. So basically they can't, in 2022, our election will necessarily have to happen no sooner than November. And so we're looking at having to move it at that point, so might as well look to sync it all up now. The other is something that everybody knew in advance, but we showed it in this last election in a big way. Everybody's all concerned about voter turnout. Well, clearly, voter turnout is going to always be greater when there's more elections happening at the same time, and especially when it's other, national or state. To put it in numbers, I think our record voter turnout in a May election is somewhere around 4,000, whereas just now we had 12,000 city, roughly 12,000 city ballots picked up in this most recent election. There's a potential cost reduction if you do it in November. In May, we're the only entity paying for the costs to administer that election, whereas in November, in the even number of years in particular, there'll be other entities, and we proportionally pay for the administration of it. We, of course, pay all our ballot costs ourselves. But one of the other things is the synchronization with the city government calendar. The fiscal year of the city is October 1st to September 30th. As you all have experienced, when you come on council in May, you're asked to learn what the budget function is, learn all the details of it, and then immediately try and have a intellectual input into a budget that's already pretty much being built as you take office. If you do it in November, everybody starts at the beginning of a fiscal year. You have 6-7 months to get used to the budget and everything. And when the new budget's created, you have a little more understanding of what's going on. It can help set policies. The other is, as far as the calendar, is the city manager and city attorney are evaluated. Traditionally, it's been in October. Again, if you've been elected in May, you understand it's really hard to evaluate someone. You've only been there for 3 or 4 months. And we all look at each other going, how do I evaluate somebody? Well, if you're elected in November, everybody on council has sat with those people for a year and is better able to evaluate them. Then there's this accountability to citizens. If the election happens in November and you approve budgets in September, it's likely to make the elections be more issue-oriented because people will be focusing on the budget and policy decisions you're making in September just before the election happens. It kind of forces council to be more accountable to the citizens during that. And the last one is voter fatigue. We have election dates going basically year-round with primaries in March, the May election, and then November, the general election. We could eliminate a lot of that if we move to November. So logistically, I'd be asking you to essentially discuss this possibility, and what it would mean to the current council is that, of course, Ms. Clarkson and Mr. Cochran would be asked to stay on until at least November, and then we could sync everything back up. So
Okay,
anyways,
that's 4 minutes.
and I'm done. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? On that?
Not for 4A, sir.
Okay. All right. Do we have a motion on 4A?
I'll move that we accept 4A as presented.
Okay.
Second.
You got a motion second. Any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by the raised hand. Okay. Just point of clarification.
Okay, sir?
You didn't ask
You
for
have to
opposed.
You have
ask for
to
opposed.
You
ask
need the vote.
against also.
I'm sorry.
Yes, who, for those
You only asked
opposed.
who was in favor, you didn't ask who was
Oh,
opposed.
who's opposed? Yeah, okay, there you go. Just a point of clarification. In May of 2022, I will have served 48 months, and that's the remainder of my service. So I don't need to serve till November of 2022. Okay, 4B. Do we have any speakers?
Yes,
Can I
sir,
explain
George
why I
Baruti?
voted no first before you move
Okay,
on?
yeah.
As a new council member, I would have liked to have been able to at least discuss this just a little bit before we voted, maybe tabled it for discussion, because as a new council member coming in, a lot of this has affected me in that, especially with the budget. I would have wished to have had more time to look at the budget, and it just seems to me, if we want community involvement, which we don't really have much of during the May election, that it would make sense to get more community involvement by holding an election when more people are likely to vote. And that's why I voted no for that.
Right, and I'm sorry I went past you without.
That's okay. No, because
without-
you asked if there was any discussion. Because
Yeah.
usually you make a motion and then you make a second and then you ask for discussion. So that would have been like the, we could have
Okay.
talked about. Also, I'll just say that I'm confused by the whole budget issue because, as someone that's coming in November, you're saying you felt like you wished you had more time. And I enjoyed coming in May and having a workshop in May where we talked about our priorities and then our budget wrapped around the priorities. So I voted to continue the May election specifically regarding budget because that's what you brought up, just because that does give you more time as a council member to be behind the budget. And I just don't think personally that COVID is, everybody has suffered in so many ways. And I think I would have liked to have seen the election be in May. I'm sure all of you would have liked to have seen the election be in May, but it was a pandemic that causes change. And I sure am looking forward to hopefully going back to normal. So that's why I voted for it.
Have we had the election in November in prior years? Do we have an answer? Or have we ever done
No.
the
Not
municipal
since
election?
I've been here.
in
Only for
November?
charter amendments.
Right.
Yeah.
Not for municipal general election.
Okay.
Okay. 4B. We have a speaker.
George Baruti?
I didn't plan on speaking, but just to clarify the mayor's clarification, George Brewery, 1616 Glen Road.
George, you can take your mask off and you can be
okay.
heard.
So you have served 48, you will have served 48 months, that's correct, but you were just elected, as Ms. Hughes was just elected. It is actually improper and against the charter for us to force her to be reelected in May. It would shorten her term. You can choose to step off in May, but we can't actually, by charter, request that she step off. And so you actually, in 2022, will have to allow at least her to have be possibly reelected in November because her term won't end till then. And as far as what other cities do, which is something worth looking at, not necessarily the thing we should follow, but other cities do actually get reelected. They have their general elections in November. Not all of them. But as an example, Houston, Austin, San Marcos were some that I stumbled on. So it does occur. And again, back to the voter turnout, I think everybody understands that to choose to have it in May as opposed to November is simply saying you like less voter turnout because we inherently get more voter turnout and more an engaged electorate in a city election if it's held in November. Anyways, that's all. Thanks.
Mayor?
Yeah.
I just want to be clear on something. I'm not sure that's a correct statement. Mr. Brody brings up, obviously the charter talks about a 2-year term, but I don't know if that's a correct statement. I'll be happy to look at it and research that issue, whether we have to somehow push the election in May of 22 to November. This was obviously an extraordinary year, and the only reason we pushed it till November was pursuant to governor's order. And so that is what I consider an exception, and I'll look at the issue of the 2-year term.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion on that matter? Okay.
I'll
All
make a
in-
motion that we accept for 4B
Yeah.
as presented.
Okay. All right.
And I'll second.
Okay. Got a motion second. All in favor, raise the right hand.
Wait, we need to have discussion.
Any discussion?
Do you need
Yeah,
discussion?
discussion.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to go past that again. All right, all in favor, let it be known by the raised hand, and any opposed, by like sign. Now, 4D, do we have someone to speak to that?
Yes, I just wanted to, if we could have just a little bit of explanation of how that works for the public.
Chief?
Chief Boyd. So basically, the way this works is we take the ambulance that we're using right now, and we replace the chassis of it and put a new chassis on the old box. They will refurbish the box that we have in use right now. To replace the ambulance and a box, it's roughly $228,000. To do a remount, we're looking at roughly about $140,000. So in essence, we're saving quite a bit of money by doing the remount. We do this every 7 years. We have 7 ambulances. So basically, the way it works is every 7th year, we'll have a remount on that unit. And then it goes through one 7-year term, and then after 14 years, it gets totally replaced.
Okay. And what is a box? Can you explain to us what?
It's the actual back part of the med unit.
What you ride in.
Okay. Okay.
A question I had, given that this is from Mackay Dodge, I assume Crenwelge doesn't have this kind of vehicle, or?
We go through MacHike because they're pro board. And I'm not sure if Crenwelge does the ambulances, to be honest with you. I can find that information out for you.
So this is done through the state buy board. It's a fixed price. It doesn't have to be
Yes,
negotiated.
exactly.
It's already all been negotiated.
Correct.
That's how we purchase most of our large assets. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And when you say 7 years, it's always 7 years. It doesn't depend upon the number of miles that have been put on that original one.
Correct.
Sure. Okay. And how many miles does that generally?
Looking
add
at
up to?
probably 240 to 300,000 miles.
Okay. Well, that's more than I had expected. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you for the explanation. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And I'm ready to make a motion that we accept 4D as presented.
All right. Second, okay. Got a motion, second. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of 4D, if you'd raise the right hand. Okay, that's the end of the consent agenda, and we move to a public hearing. Ms. McElhannon?
Resolution number 28-2020, a resolution granting a conditional use permit to authorize a short-term rental unit on properties consisting of approximately 0.97 acre out of the Samuel Wallace Survey number 112, abstract number 360, more commonly known as 3030 Riverside Drive. Said properties are located within an R1 single-family zoning district and making said permits subject to certain conditions and restrictions contained herein.
Okay. At 6:28, we go into public hearing. Mr. Paxton?
Thank you, Mayor. Council, good evening. This is a conditional use permit for a short-term rental at 3030 Riverside Drive. The property and the adjacent properties are zoned R1, and behind it is zoned C3 on Memorial Boulevard. There's another aerial of the property there. And here's the site plan of the existing home and how they're providing parking pursuant to the ordinance. The property and the area around it are designated as transitional residential in the Kerrville 2050 Comprehensive Plan. The request is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The short-term rental does require 1 parking space per bedroom with an additional parking space for the off-site manager. As you can see on the site plan here, they've provided those parking spaces. Based on the conditional use request being consistent with the Kerrville 2050 plan, Planning and Zoning Commission approved the case for approval with unanimous vote on November 5th. And I'd be pleased to answer any questions before or after the remainder of the public hearing.
Drew, this is right next to the one that we had approved just recently, right? Is it right next to it, or?
Same street.
Same street, I
Just
believe
down
it's
the
two
Same
doors
street,
down.
but down a couple.
Back toward Kerrville from there.
And Drew, notices go out and no objections. Is
That's
that
correct.
Yeah. All right. Do I hear a motion on that?
Ms.
matter?
Franchina, are there any
Sorry.
speakers?
Oh, yeah.
We have no speakers.
Right. Any speakers on this one? Okay.
Yep. Just be clear that you've opened the public hearing.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
You opened it at 6:28.
Okay.
right, okay. All right. Any further discussion? You ready to vote?
We need to close the public hearing first before we vote.
Yes.
What?
Close the public hearing.
Close
before
Yeah.
we vote.
All right. Close the public hearing at 6:30.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution number 28-2020.
All right, okay.
I'll second.
Second, any discussion? Okay. All in favor of that motion, if you'd let it be known by the raised hand. Okay, thank you, and it's unanimous. Now, at 6:31, we go back into public hearing, and if you would read it in.
Ordinance number 2020-26, an ordinance annexing an approximate 5.0 acre tract of land known as 5275 Highway 27 into the city's corporate limits, adopting a service plan for the property annexed, establishing the zoning for the property and adjacent property known as 100 Airport Commerce Parkway East as an industrial and manufacturing zoning district, IM.
All right, okay. Mr. Paxton.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the request for annexation and zoning, an annexation of a 5-acre tract to be zoned IM, and a zone change from PD to IM on 100 Airports Commerce Parkway.
All right,
There's the zoning map. As you can see, 100 Airport Commerce Parkway was part of a larger PD for that Airport Commerce District. This is going to be taken out of that planned development district into the IM zoning district, consistent with Fox Tank next door, and the 5-acre tract to be annexed. It is consistent with the Kerrville 2050 plan as part of Strategic Catalyst Area number 11. And the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval with unanimous vote on November 5th. And with that, I'd be pleased to answer any questions before or after the public hearing.
all right. Any questions?
Just to clarify, this is the original 5-acre tract, and then there's an adjacent tract that we're not annexing at this time?
That is correct. The 5-acre tract is being annexed. The tract of land known as 100 Airport Commerce Parkway is already inside the city limits.
It is already inside.
Yes.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
All right, okay. Okay, any citizens that want to speak to this?
Ms. Franchina, do we have anyone on the line?
We
Okay,
have no callers, Ms. Magley.
Thank you.
all right. Okay, then we're out of the public hearing, 6:33. What's your pleasure? What do you want to do with this one?
I'll move that we approve ordinance number 2020-26.
Second.
Second? Okay. All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor, let it be known by the upraised hand, and it passes unanimously.
Ordinance number 2020-27, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2003-16, which created a planned development district PDD for the property known as 401 West Water Street by adding a tattoo shop as an authorized use for the property.
Okay. All right. Comments or questions on this? All right.
Open the public hearing.
Mr. Paxton?
Mayor and council, this is an amendment to an existing PD 2003-16. It's an existing beauty salon, and the salon would like to add additional services for permanent cosmetics. With the state licensing through TDLR, tattoo shops and permanent cosmetics are the same license. So from a zoning perspective, we treat them as one and the same. So this is the existing business just wanting to expand their services. No changes to the building, no changes to the other conditions of the planned development district, just adding that one additional use. November 5th, Planning and Zoning Commission recommended for approval with unanimous vote.
All right. Mr. Paxton, I go down that street often. This is on the corner there on Westwater. And it is the only, well, maybe I think the only commercial operation in that block. There may be one over to the right. But I'm real concerned about encroachment into that residential area by commercial operations. I mean, that is a combination of unique, interesting houses. There's some that are being redone and so forth. So I just like to register my concern that I really don't want to see the commercial spread further there.
Yes, sir. As you see on the zoning map, this is the only commercial piece on that side of, excuse me, can't think of that side street. On that,
Why was, this isn't going to affect my vote, but I was just very curious about why this was a PD. Do you have the history on that?
I do not.
And we kept it PD because we were just keeping comparable uses when we rezoned, and that's
correct.
what it was.
When we went through the overhaul of the zoning code and the zoning map, we did not look at each PD that was
We
existing.
just tried to match the
Yeah,
uses
so
as they exist.
all of the existing PDs remained. So it is a PD from 2003. The only use allowed in the current PD is the beauty salon. So we are adding the tattoo and permanent
So
cosmetics
if they
to
were
that.
zoned RT, would they be here asking for this, or would this be allowable? Because it functions to me as an RT when I drive in that area.
Agree.
It does. The tattoo shop would not be allowed, but the beauty salon would
So
be
they'd
allowed.
be here either way.
Right.
Okay.
And as you can see from the zoning map, across the street there is the RT district, which serves as that buffer between the residential and the commercial on Junction Highway. Any further expansion of commercial use into the neighborhood could certainly change the character of the neighborhood as well. But this is not currently expanding. It is an existing beauty salon.
Okay. Any further discussion?
No, I just see Gary and Kim, I can't hear you. I don't know. Can you hear
I'm
us?
having a hard time also.
If you guys could just move closer to your
sorry, sure,
mics,
absolutely.
please. Thank you. Yes. And I think it's worth saying, this is not a tattoo shop that, these are cosmetic type tattoos. This isn't something somebody's going to walk in and want a rainbow put on their arm, that kind of thing, right?
That is correct.
This is, okay.
But it would be allowed.
I mean, yeah, would,
The licensee would have the license with the state. From a zoning perspective, it would be allowed. But obviously, they're operating as a beauty salon, so I don't, yeah.
Granted.
But yes, it would be allowed.
All right, do I have a motion? Do we have a speaker to this?
It is a public hearing.
Yeah, sure. Anybody? Yeah, okay.
we have a speaker.
Someone to speak to it?
Do you want to go ahead and open the public hearing?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
You need to gavel in, Bill.
yeah, okay. Public hearing.
Vincent Vocal, 619 Wheelers. I share your concerns, Mayor. I was wondering if there's any kind of restrictions of hours of operation on either of those zonings. And maybe that, I don't know if you can put a condition on it, that might help some of the residential areas be willing to accept this.
The Planning Commission did not, The Planning Commission did not recommend any additional conditions for the PD. General practice, I wouldn't recommend restricting hours through zoning, because that would change, obviously, how we enforce the zoning, depending upon what those restrictions are. Obviously, code enforcement is not working 24/7. So Any other complaints would be just that, based on a complaint basis. Then we can look into what those complaints are, if it's a police action or code enforcement action.
And again, there was no, you didn't hear back from anyone that letters were sent out to?
No.
All right.
Ms. Franchina, is anyone on the line?
We have no speakers.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Any further discussion? Okay,
And close it.
and rather the public hearing, all in
I'll make
favor?
I'll make a motion.
Yeah. Motion and second?
And the motion is that, that we approve ordinance number 2020-27.
Yeah,
I'll second.
okay. All right, all in favor, if you'd let me know by that, raised hands. All right, thank you. Okay, ordinance number 2020-24, could you read that in for us?
Ordinance number 2020-23, second reading. An ordinance amending Chapter 60 of the Code of Ordinances, the city zoning code, by changing the zoning of a portion of the property generally located east of and adjacent to State Highway 16 South, south of River Hill Boulevard, and comprising approximately 172.56 acres. Said property zoning previously amended by ordinance number 2020-03 from a medium-density residential zoning district R2 to a residential estate zoning district RE, and amending the comprehensive plan Kerrville 2050 to make it consistent with such amendment.
All right. Is Mr. Paxton going to present on this?
There's no presentation since it's second reading.
Okay. Second reading, then we can move on. What's your opinion? What discussion?
I make a motion that we approve on second reading ordinance number 2020-23.
You know what? I'm going to get us out of public hearing. If you'll do that again.
What?
Again.
If you'll do it again.
I make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2020-23 on second reading.
I'll second.
All right.
You've got a second
Okay,
over
we've got
here.
a second here. All in favor, let it be known by the upraised hand. All right, it's unanimous. Okay. If you will read in the next item.
Ordinance number 2020-24, second reading. An ordinance amending Chapter 60 of the Code of Ordinances, the city zoning code, by changing the zoning of the property known as 1421 Junction Highway, State Highway 27, from being part of a planned development district established by ordinance number 2004-19 to a light commercial zoning district, C2. And there are no speakers signed up.
There are none, okay. All right, public hearing.
No, there's no public
Everybody?
hearing.
Okay, all right. Then council discussion on that item? All right, all in,
I make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2020-24 on second reading.
yeah,
Second.
got a second. All in favor, let it be known by the raised hand, and it is unanimous. Okay, next item.
Ordinance number 2020-25, second reading. An ordinance amending the city's fiscal year 2020 and fiscal year 2021 budgets to account for the transfer of excess funds, the receipt of additional revenue, and to make other amendments as provided herein. And there are no speakers signed up.
Okay, all right. Council, question, observation?
Amy's got a presentation.
Oh, you have one?
First
Thank you,
Amy.
Amy.
Yes, so this is a little different than the other second readings because there has been a change since the first reading, so I wanted to highlight that for you. All right. You'll remember that on the first reading, this passed 5-0, but there has been one change. The first part of this budget amendment specifically relates to transfers to capital project and asset replacement funds to transfer a year-end surplus. That year-end surplus resulted from better than anticipated revenue from budget cuts and also from CARES Act funding. We have a change to one of our numbers, so that's what I want to highlight. The final fiscal year 2020 activity information is not received until mid-November. So after the last council meeting, we received our final sales tax information for the year and also some EMS information as well. Anyway, the sales tax final numbers that we received increased our sales tax revenue for the fiscal year 2020 by $150,000. And the idea here is that purchases that were made in September, actually in last fiscal year, if you went to HEB in September, you paid sales tax to HEB in September. They paid it to the state and filed a sales tax return in October, and then the state paid it to the city of Kerrville in November. So that's why there's a 2-month lag there, and in November, we find out what actually happened for sales in September. So this sales tax was, again, better than expected. And so we are proposing that the budget amendment transfer to the capital projects fund be increased by $150,000. And there are no other changes to the numbers. I did go ahead and include the same information from the presentation last month, so I'm not going to go through all those slides. Nothing has changed except that $150,000. But I did want to take this opportunity to highlight just a quick minute what has happened in October of 2020. So this is also my financial update for the month of October. So for the month of October, we're just 1 month into our fiscal year, so it's not a lot of data. But in the general fund, we do have revenues of $2 million and expenditures of $2.1 million. In the water fund, revenue of $1.2 million, expenditures of $1 million. A couple of things to highlight there. Property tax, our biggest revenue source, is off to a strong start. One thing that I thought was interesting to note, you'll remember that the county actually collects our property taxes for us. So you pay the city property tax to the county through Bob Reeves' office. So Bob reports that he's seeing an increase in property owners that are opting for the half pay option. That's something that anyone can elect to do, where they pay half their property taxes by the end of November, and then the other half is due the end of June. So, you know, that's not a good thing or a bad thing one way or the other, but it is interesting to note, maybe as a result of financial changes due to the pandemic, it may change our cash flow a little bit if we have more people doing the half pay option than usual. And then sales tax is the biggest thing to report. We just continue to see these extremely strong results. So October 2020 compared to October 2019, almost 6% higher. And that was in spite of one of our largest sales tax payers. There was a reporting issue with the state, and we ended up receiving 2 months, October and November's payment from that large sales taxpayer in November. So October, without a payment at all from that large sales tax payer, was up almost 6%. And then November up 24.9% compared to the prior year. So just, and that did include that double payment in there, but still, even when you adjust that out, up like 18% compared to the prior year. Digging into the detail that we do every month, looking at things by payer, we just continue to see very strong performance in regional retail. So those home improvement stores, big box stores, new stores that we have in the regional retail category. Then, of course, online sales are very strong, and the manufacturing segment continues very strong as well. And then one other thing to note in those November numbers is an increase in the food service category that we haven't seen, at least at this magnitude, up 8.5%. So all good news so far there. And then, the last thing is just our other funds. I have a listing here. Once again, I think it's too early to make a real call about trends or anything, but I do have results here for development services, golf, and hotel occupancy tax. And hotel occupancy tax is down a little bit from the prior year, but is pretty strong given the, the current economic environment. So that's all I have, and if anyone has questions, I'm happy to take them.
Just one clarification, going back to the
Yes.
budget amendment.
Yes.
So if I remember, I'm looking correctly, that originally we had talked about $500,000 transfer, and then we've increased that to $650,000.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes. So in your packet last month and in the presentation last month, that transfer to capital projects reserved for future projects. So there's not a specific project that it's allocated for, was at $500,000. This month it's at $650,000.
Good.
Your news is a good Christmas present.
It is. Yes.
I have not a question, Amy, but just just to note, Mark, with the increase in the half pay options, I'd really be interested in how the county plans to provide notice to those payers and collect. I know on some of the quarterly pays, it's up to the individual payer to know and pay when that balance is due. So if this is going to be significant, I would really be interested in knowing how they're going to stay on top of that.
I can definitely follow up on that
You can?
and
Okay.
send that information to council.
Okay, that would be good.
All right.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions of Amy? Okay,
Thank you, Amy.
all right. Is there a motion regarding this?
I'll move that we approve ordinance 2020-25.
All right. Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all right. All right, any further discussion? All in favor, if you'll let me know by the raised hands, and it carries unanimously. Thank you, Amy.
Briefing and possible action as to the city's ongoing preparedness in response to COVID-19 coronavirus.
Chief Hughes?
Oops. Yeah.
Good evening. All righty. As of today, December 8th, 2020, at 3 o'clock, our total for the county is sitting at 1,741 total cases. Of that, there are 318 active cases at this time. We are at 26 total deaths due to COVID, and we are showing 1,397 recovered since the beginning. At this time, there are 19 hospitalized.
At Peterson?
Sorry. And we do not know their condition. So at this time, we have 19 total in the hospital.
Are they actually in Peterson?
Yes, ma'am.
They are,
This is released from Peterson Regional Medical
Do you
Center.
know what the capacity is for Peterson?
No, but they're not at their capacity as of yet. So we've been very fortunate at this time. All right. All right. For our local updates, the community leadership met Thursday, the 3rd, 2020. We continue to meet on a regular basis to communicate, coordinate, and to have a joint response to COVID-19 in our community. We got our results back from the November 25th free public testing for COVID. We had a total of 693 people test. Of the 693, there was 93 total positives. Of that group, 525 were actually Kerr County residents. 66 of those were positive in our county after those testing. Reminder, tomorrow, Wednesday, December 9th, from 8 to 4 at the Hill Country Youth Event Center, we will be having another free COVID testing. You do not need to have a doctor's referral, no appointment. It's walk-in between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. If you want to get tested, come. If you wake up with a runny nose, I take advantage of it. If we know it's there, we can slow the spread. So, and then last, I leave everyone with the reminders. COVID-19 remains a public health threat. We must remain vigilant. We can't become complacent. Next month will mark 1 year that I've been tracking the virus for the city. The finish line's in sight. We can't let up now. It's coming, but we haven't crossed it. Review CDC guidelines and exercise the best practice, what they recommend. Continue social distancing. Wear a mask to slow the spread of the virus, and stay home if you're sick. We're fixing to approach cedar season, and it would be easy to mistake COVID-19 for just having your normal cedar problem. So continue to stay vigilant. We'll get through this together. Y'all have any questions?
Is there any news on the vaccine front for Kerrville?
So as of right now, we all pretty much know the same. Come Thursday, me and Chief Maloney, we have a meeting with TDEM and DSHS to discuss the way that the state of Texas will roll out the vaccine. Most likely, I would imagine that Texas will follow suit with all the other states that we've heard. It'll start with your frontline workers, healthcare workers, and then it'll go to the nursing homes. And what they are predicting is by June, anyone who wants a vaccine will be able to get that vaccine. So we will definitely have more for y'all during the next council meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you for your good work.
Oh, you're welcome, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Declaration of local state of disaster due to a public health emergency, March 20th, 2020.
Any discussion on that or anybody to speak on that? It's the declaration of disaster that we signed back in March. Do we renew it?
Again, just as a reminder, why we're doing that is we want the public to know that we're aware that there is a declaration. We're paying attention to it. It's not something that we want to have ongoing. We do discuss it, and I just want the public to know that it's not something we're taking for granted.
Yeah, okay.
Bill, would it be appropriate, could I say a little bit about the food relief at this time?
Yeah, go ahead.
The food relief hotline is still open. It's available if you know of anyone, as people are listening out there, who may need to take advantage of it or who would like to donate. It's an easy number. It's 258 and 1234. So please let people know that. I'd also like to share that last November, the 30th, the last day, the mega food distribution at Mount Wesley, there were 350 cars, 50 more than in September. It accounted for 1,000 people, which was, I'm not quite sure how many more from the month before, but it was a considerable number from the month before. 36,000 pounds of food. And that's just astounding. Light on the Hill will continue. It looks like they are going to continue to be a mega food distribution center in 2021. And that's just attributed to the good job that they do and all the wonderful volunteers that they get. And they have asked to film the distribution as it is done at Mount Wesley, at Light on the Hill, as a training tool. So again, kudos to everyone that's involved with that. In addition, Light on the Hill continues to do 100 home deliveries throughout the month. And that's about 85 families that they deliver to on a regular basis. So, and they still do their Monday drive-through. Cam still does a daily drive-through. St. Vincent has about 3 days a week. The next food drive will be Monday, December 28th. So they always need volunteers, and they just, hats off to Beth Palmer and her crew out there.
Yeah.
Judy, would you remind everybody if we would like to make a donation, what's the best way to do that?
It goes to Community Foundation, so you can call them or call that hotline number, but call Community Foundation, and they will take your checks. So
And what's that date again, Judy?
the next one will be the last Monday of December, the 28th. And so it's going to we're going to continue to need this money. So it's not going to get better for a while. So thank you.
Thanks, Judy.
Thank you. All right, do we have items for future agendas? All right. If not, then we'll move on and deal with two of the board appointments, and that is the Food Service Advisory Committee and also the Senior Services Advisory. Then we have two that we'll deal with in executive session. All right, number 10A.
Appoint members to the Food Service Advisory Committee.
All right, okay. Do we have recommendations in that regard?
I do. Gary and I discussed that. We had 4 terms expiring and 5 applications. So it would make sense that we would reappoint those who are already on the board. So the recommendation was to reappoint Monica Eggleston and Angela Fiedler because they already serve on the board. This would be their second term, I think. And then we had 3 applications that came in, new applications. All 3 were very qualified. We only had 2 openings, and I basically based it and got consensus from Council Member Cochran to go with the 2 applications that came in the earliest and select them because of the date that they submitted it. So having said that, I'd like to make a motion that we reappoint Monica Eggleston and Angela Fiedler and to appoint Wendy Massey and Bernadette Wynn to the Food Service Advisory Board for a 2-year term.
And I'll second that.
Okay, second. All right. Any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by the raised hand. Okay, and it is unanimous. All right, then appointing members to the Senior Services Advisory Committee.
Yes, I would like to, I'll make the motion. We had 6 vacancies and we received 7 applications. And I always hate this when we have one more person than we can put into a position. They are all well qualified. I would move that we will reappoint Misty Blevins, we will reappoint Karen Burkett, and we will reappoint Christine Klima. The new appointments will be Karen Martin, Karen Maddox, and Neil Powers.
Okay, all right, good. We have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, let it be known by the raised hands. All right. 2 more that we're going to deal with before we go into executive session. 10E. Ms. McLennan, would you read that in, please?
Appointment of council member to the Kerrville Economic Development Corporation Board.
All right.
Mayor, it's my understanding that you've been on that board and that you seem to enjoy that, so I would like for the council to consider you nominating or recommending you to continue that appointment, and I'll make that as a motion.
Okay.
I'll second that.
You got a second? Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, that raised hand? Okay. Let me just say that I'm really proud of what's happening at the Economic Development Corporation. I was a part of the group to hire Gil Salinas, and he is doing an exceptional job. And we have some more good prospects for businesses that could really make a difference here. And one of those is going to be visiting tomorrow. So it's an exciting day for KDC. Now, 10F, would you read in?
Appointment of Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah. All right. Do we have a motion in regard to Mayor Pro Tem?
Mr. Mayor, and again, it's my understanding that it's kind of tradition that we rotate that among the other council members. I think Judy's done an outstanding job, but it's time to, I guess, to rotate it. So I'd like to nominate Kim Clarkson to serve as Mayor Pro Tem.
All right.
And I'll second that.
Okay. Kim Clarkson to serve as Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion? All right. All in favor, up raised hand. Okay, good, and it's unanimous. And I want to say a word of commendation to Judy Eichner, who served as Mayor Pro Tem. She has been great for me to go to with, what do you think about this? How do we handle this? And just a lot of wisdom and compassion. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, okay. All right, at this time, is there a motion that we go into executive session to deal with the appointment to Planning and Zoning and ZBA and the other items listed here?
Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we go into executive session for appointments to ZBA for Planning and Zoning, and numbers 551.071, 551.072, 551.087, and did I miss one? I thought there was another one.
074.
551.074. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. All right,
I'll second.
got a second? Okay, so,
Oh, it was, that's right. We could take 551.074 as Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah.
So we've done
Okay.
that. We can take that
No,
one
this
off.
is.
Well, that's on the
they're
other
all-
board
they're all
appointments,
074.
on the other
Oh,
board,
oh.
on the other ones.
Okay.
It's all
Oh, okay,
okay.
okay.
Yeah.
All
You get them
right,
all?
thank you.
okay. All right,
You gotta vote.
we are in executive session, and we will come back after.
We need to vote on
We
that.
need to vote.
We need to vote on that. You're right. All in favor? We got to vote. Okay. We're now in executive session.
Well, thank you, Gary.
The council is back in session. And Ms. Clarkson, do you have some nominations?
Yes, I'm going to start with the Planning and Zoning Commission. We have 4 terms expiring on January 1st, 2021, and there are 2 who have applied for reappointment, Clifford Tuttle and John Lipscomb. And for the other 2 positions, I'm going to recommend Michael Siegerman and Shane Bourgeois. I hope I said that right. And so my motion is to elect Shane Bourgeois, John Lipscomb, Mike Siegerman, and Clifford Tuttle to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
All right, okay. Do we
I'll
have a
second
second
that.
to that motion?
I'll second that.
Second, all right. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, if you'd let it be known by the raised hand. Okay,
Okay, so the other one we're going to deal with is the ZBA, the Zoning Board of Adjustment. All right, we have 4 terms expiring or expired. We have 2 who have applied for reappointment, Pablo Brinkman and Paul Zolan.
We have an alternate member, Mike Asmus, who's applied, and I'm going to also recommend that he become no longer an alternate, but a regular member. And then I'm going to recommend that we add Michael Killeen, and as alternate, Jim Sandy. So that motion's going to be for the Zoning Board of Adjustment to appoint Paul Brinkman, Paul Zolan, Mike Asmus, and Michael Killeen for the regular members and Jim Sandy as the alternate.
I'll second that.
Okay, again, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by the raised hand. All right.
And Bill, I think we should just add that we thank everybody who has applied, and even though we had more people than applications, we've had good applications, and hopefully they will reconsider the next time and put their applications back in. So I think we owe them a big thank you.
All right, we have over 100 citizens serving on various city boards and commissions, and they really make a difference. All right, we're adjourned.